Hey, I'm Sidney Irwin, a PhD candidate at Central Queensland University, and I'm here today to talk about trash talk in esports. Trash talk, smack talk, the practice of mentally getting into an opponent's head is commonly seen in conventional sports and discussed in video gaming literature. As a social and competitive environment, it should be no surprise then that it is seen and talked about in esports. But what is trash talk exactly? Well, it's a question that can be answered simply, yet not all answers are the same. Let's first ask, how do we define trash talk? Looking at this paper, it's defined a behaviour as verbal taunts that players direct at their opponents during contests. Sounds simple enough, right? Yet, as it's becoming a growing area of research, others have extended this definition, adding that it may not just be verbal taunts, but rather can be seen as excessive dancing, or that it can occur before a competition. It also doesn't have to occur towards one's opponents, but also towards one's teammates. And, well, these definitions, they're just never consistent across sources. So, I guess trash talk can be seen in many forms, but how many exactly? Rather than having various single definitions of what trash talk is, why not just summarize the main forms of what trash talk could be? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about today. We wanted to investigate what forms of trash talking are evident in esports. To do this, we implemented a framework to help us provide a succinct overview of what trash talk is, and chose the AACTT or ACT framework. This extends the more known TACT framework, which specifies that behaviour is derived of four main themes: the target, who the action is directed towards; the action, the behaviour performed; the context, the setting the action takes place; and the time which the behaviour occurred. If you're looking at the theory of planned behaviour, for example, the TACT can be seen here. However, the ACT model shuffles these themes and introduces a fifth variable, the actor, or the person who performs the action. The addition of the actor aids in further classifying how the behaviour can be witnessed by others and okay, listen. I'm not gonna lie, this is all just a glorified way of describing the who, what, when, where, and why of all this. But the ACT does provide a clear specification of what the behaviour is and provides a focus into categorising sub-elements for each theme. So, doing so, we can provide a starting matrix into how esports consumers observe trash talk. So, where do we begin finding out how many forms of trash talk are there? Well, for us, we went back through some old data collected back in late 2019, early 2020. This project used a systematic approach to gather quotes, statements, and responses of trash talk in Reddit threads. Yes, Reddit. Look, don't ask. Alright, in short, we went through some Reddit forums and gathered as many comments relating to trash talk as possible. We also decided to go simple and focus on the first-person shooter genre. Then, to simplify again, we decided to choose 3 FPS esports to focus on, which were CSGO, Overwatch, and Rainbow Six Siege. Why these 3? Well, simply because they're the 3 most popular FPS esports at the time of data collection. So no Valorant. At the end of it, we trudged through 106 threads and gathered a total of 1,724 comments across all 3 esports communities. Now, for this study, we shook off the dust, plunged back into this data, and collected hard evidence of trash talk in esports. These were links to clips, videos, interviews, and tweets that consumers posted to either start a conversation of trash talk or use them as examples of what they observe. These examples were then transcribed to provide an overview of what happened in each situation, with additional information being provided from the original Reddit threads. In the end, a total of 61 cases were collected for data analysis. Data analysis comprised of deductively coding each case through the ACT framework. So, with each case of trash talk, we transcribed it, and then, with each individual case, we highlighted key labels and sorted them out across the 5 main themes. This first allowed us to form a condensed overview of the main elements that reoccurred throughout the data. Then, after this, we went through each theme and further defined the categories through a content analysis to formulate overarching elements associated with trash talk. Then, it's onto the results. Now, to avoid repetition and provide a condensed summary of the results, I'm going to present the findings in the rough order of first summarising the types of actions found with trash talk. Then I'll follow it by describing the actors, targets, time, and the various contexts. I'll then provide a matrix of each of these 5 themes at the very end. With that said, let's see some examples of trash talk, shall we? Now, as with most literature, when we think of trash talk, we think of the most common form of it: pro players targeting other professional players, and usually during a match. And in esports, this is no exception. Players can shout at each other, signal hand gestures to each other, or go more impulsive and just full on pop off.
Back to
Cadian, I like that.
But there are other forms of trash talk which use the digital environment, such as social media, where players can trash talk to each other either before or after a match. Hey, before and after a match, we can add those to our time results. Great. Anyway, getting distracted. In the match though, players can use the in-game chat rooms to taunt at opposing teams, or they can use in-game mechanics at forms of trash talk purely unique to esports. Yes, bad manners or BMing, these are non-verbal gestures shared among both professional and casual players when one wins a match. These forms of trash talk are typically seen among professional players, but they're not the only competitors in esports. Their entire teams and organizations are as well. And just like conventional sports, team coaches can partake in trash talk too. So we have professional players and coaches who are directly involved in competition who can trash talk, but they're not the only actors.
Quick read in here on a new narration by our friend Duncan Thorne-Shields, titled Banged Out. Take it away, Duncan.
The last time someone got paid to lose to Tarek like that, it was I Buy Power in late 2014.
Yes, stage talent. Casters, desk hosts, and analysts, they would use banter or smack talk whilst critiquing a player or team's performance. Here, it's not an opposing player or team being a target, but just a player for, well, being a player. Everyone is fair game. So, already, if we were to form an overview of the act themes found in trash talk, it looks something like this. We provided an overview of some of the actions, actors, targets, and times when trash talk occurs, but what about the context? Well, in the act framework, I'm talking about the physical, emotional, or social setting when the action is performed. So, for the physical setting, trash talk can occur in either real-life situations, such as face-to-face interviews or during LAN events, or they can occur through the digital environment, such as social media and within the video game. Simple enough, right? But what about the social settings? Well, this is where we need to differentiate the types of players and events. Of course, you have professional players competing at high-stake tournaments of prize money and glory, but they're not the only matches esports consumers watch. You also have show matches. Friendly games, usually comprised of well-known players and figures in esports, playing a match to gain viewership, raise money for charities, hype up the main game, or even just for fun. Here then, the actors can be divided between professional players and showcase ones. There is also direct and indirect trash talk towards a target. Direct, naturally, would be the actor directly trash talking the target by either saying their name in interviews or physically pointing at them. But there's also indirect trash talk. Here, actors trash talk about a target, but more towards a crowd, allowing spectators to get excited and cheer on. There is also the context if the trash talk is in response to another trash talk. Let's say a player taunts another during a game.
You're hoping to pincer him, but Katie was watching the flank.
You got him clean through the smoke. Why are you hiding, Stan? Good point. Come on, Stan. Get stuck in.
A common action of trash talk, right? But then, what if the opposing player gets a target back at the original player in a similar way?
Connecting for Evil Geniuses. They have completely swarmed the entire map, it feels like. Caden, why are you hiding? Oh, it's Stan who gets him too. Oh, the cosmic justice.
Why are you hiding?
All good stuff. Nevertheless, with all these elements together, we can start to get an idea of how trash talk is perceived in esports. Updating our flowchart, the results can now look something a little like this. So, those were the main findings of our research. But the question is, where to next? Well, although the ACT framework shows the forms of trash talk in esports, there are other factors we should consider, such as the motive. Why do players trash talk? How effective is it? Are there different forms of trash talk more effective than others? Well, we hope that this research can act as a starting point to broaden our understanding of trash talk in esports. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in following more about this research, you can follow me at Twitter. Also give a shout out to my supervisors who are helping me in my PhD project.